The day my father laughed while giving my room to my sister should have felt dramatic. Instead, it felt weirdly routine. That was the part that stayed with me afterward. Nobody yelled. Nobody threw anything. My mother kept folding laundry on the couch, while my sister stood near the hallway, pretending to look uncomfortable without actually stopping it. Dad pointed toward my room with a grin, like he was announcing a harmless joke. "Well," he said, "now your room will finally be useful." My sister laughed softly. Then he added the sentence that made the whole thing settle permanently in my chest. "She needs it more than you do." I remember looking around the living room, waiting for someone to recognize how humiliating that sounded. Nobody did, or maybe they did and chose comfort over interruption. I was 29 years old, working full-time, contributing to bills every month, fixing things around the house whenever something broke, and somehow still treated like a temporary guest whose place depended entirely on everyone else's mood. My sister had moved back home 3 months earlier after another failed relationship. At first, I genuinely felt sorry for her. I helped carry boxes inside. I gave her privacy. I ignored how quickly the house started orbiting around her emotions. Suddenly, dinner times changed for her schedule. The thermostat changed for her comfort. My mother started calling the upstairs bathroom her bathroom, even though I'd been using it for years. Small things. But small things repeated long enough become structure. I asked my father carefully, "So where exactly am I supposed to sleep?" He shrugged. "You'll figure it out." That hurt more than the room itself, not anger. Indifference, like my existence inside the family, was negotiable. I didn't argue after that. I think they expected me to, expected a scene. Expected me to shout so they could call me dramatic and justify everything afterward. Instead, I packed 2 bags quietly. My mother finally looked nervous once she realized I was actually leaving. "Don't be childish," she said. I almost laughed. Because being removed from your own room apparently wasn't childish. Only reacting to it was. My sister stood near the kitchen doorway, watching me zip my bag closed. She said, "You're overreacting." Maybe I was supposed to stay and prove I could tolerate humiliation gracefully. Maybe that was the final condition for being loved there. I left without slamming the door. That silence bothered them more than anger would have. For the first few days, I stayed in a cheap extended stay hotel near work. The room smelled faintly, like detergent and old carpet. I slept badly but clearly. Distance does strange things to memory. Moments I used to dismiss suddenly rearranged themselves into patterns. Being told my achievements weren't a big deal because I wasn't married yet. Watching my parents help my sister financially while calling my contributions expected. Realizing apologies only arrived when they needed something. I kept asking myself the same question over and over. If I stopped providing usefulness, what exactly remained between us besides biology? A week later, my father called, not to apologize, to ask when I was done pouting. That conversation changed something permanently inside me, not because it was cruel, because it was sincere. He genuinely believed the problem was my sensitivity, not what they did. The lawyer contacted them 2 days later. I wasn't present for the call, but I know roughly how it unfolded because my mother later repeated parts of it through tears. My grandfather had left me partial ownership of the house years earlier after I helped care for him during his illness. I barely thought about it afterward because I never imagined using it against my own family. Apparently, my parents barely remembered it either. Until the lawyer explained that legally forcing me out of my living space while treating me as a non-resident created complications they should probably address immediately. That was the word my mother used later, complications. Such a cold little word for what the family had become. Suddenly their tone changed. My father went from mocking me to calling repeatedly. My mother left long voicemails saying things like, "We can work this out." Even my sister texted me. I didn't think it would turn into this. But that message bothered me too, because this wasn't the lawyer. This was simply consequence finally becoming visible. When I returned to the house a few days later, the atmosphere felt unfamiliar. Too careful. Dad looked older somehow, not defeated, just uncertain for the first time in years. Nobody mentioned the room immediately. Nobody joked. My sister stayed mostly upstairs. My mother kept offering coffee, like politeness could undo humiliation retroactively. Then my father finally said quietly, "You could talk to us first." I looked at him for a long moment because I honestly didn't know how to answer that. I had spent years talking, just never in ways they considered important. "I did," I said eventually. Nobody responded, and that silence felt more honest than anything we'd said before. I didn't force anyone out of the house. I didn't threaten lawsuits. I just stopped behaving like access to basic respect was something I needed to earn continuously. That confused them more than anger would have. We still speak now. Birthdays, occasional dinners, careful conversations, but something never fully came back after I left that day with those 2 bags, not trust. The illusion that love in our family existed separately from usefulness.